WikiNative TV.
Hello and welcome back to WikiNative TV. Today I'm going to take you for a guided tour of the Conflict of Interest Notice Board. You access it by putting WP:coin into the navigator bar, like so. So this is the Conflict of Interest Notice Board. It is the place where Wikipedia editors go to parade other Wikipedia editors that they've caught editing with a conflict of interest. Usually that's going to be some type of organisation or a living subject. Sometimes people have conflict of interest with other subjects, but usually it's going to be a company or another type of organisation or a living person, maybe a recently deceased person. It's supposed to be a place where to determine whether an editor has a conflict of interest. In practice, it's more of just a public forum where they name and shame editors who get caught editing with an undisclosed conflict of interest. So let's take a look what we got on here. First off, looks like we've got a college. I love it when educational establishments get caught editing with a conflict of interest. Really, they should know better. It's ironic that a lot of them ban their students from using Wikipedia, but then go and get caught editing their own Wikipedia entries. So let's take a look at what's happened here. So somebody without an account who's just editing from an IP address has said, recently the marketing manager of the Diri Private College in Greece removed a controversy section on the Wikipedia entry article about their college in Wikipedia. They left no explanation for doing so. Obviously this is a conflict of interest, so ideally this account should no longer contribute to their article. We can just take a quick look to check the veracity of this claim. And you can see there the diff. Let's have a little look. Is this the... here we go. Controversies section. What was the rationale for nuking the entire controversies section? Controversies section has been deleted since the stated sources do not mention neither the American College of Greece nor Diri. There is no corruption scandal mentioned anywhere. The college has not acquired a higher education license, and it has not failed to fulfill any legal obligations in terms of presenting a valid curriculum program. The sources provided did not make any mention to this. Okay, let's just have a quick look at the diff. Ooh. Yeah, that is that is brash. Wow, they've tried to delete. This is the diff, by the way. So this is the differences between the revisions. So that's the latest, the last version before they deleted it, and this is how it is now. So they've tried to delete. In 2025, the American College of Greece was involved in an alleged corruption scandal where the college's organisation was able to acquire a private higher education license by the Greek government in spite of having failed to fulfill legal obligations in terms of presenting a valid curriculum program. And they've also gone and tried to delete the references as well, and that really irks other Wikipedia editors and the admins, because it's seen as, you know, removing knowledge from the public domain, and rightly so. You know, removing references without a good reason. So obviously sometimes people use references that don't meet Wikipedia's standards, like tabloids, for example, or blogs, gossip magazines, that sort of thing. That's when you can unilaterally remove a citation. But you better have a good reason, and it's usually a good idea to put that reason in your edit summary. which this person hasn't done. He's just gone ahead and said, no, this is wrong, there is no scandal, and tried to remove it. Not really being very sly about it either. What happened next then? Oh, so they got a bit of a telling off here. Deleting criticism by affiliated author without any arguments really looks very bad. You don't say. And then he's gone and also had a sharp word with this IP address as well. You're supposed to, before you drag somebody to the conflict of interest notice board for a public flogging, you're supposed to notify them on their talk page. If I didn't know better, I would say that this IP address here is potentially one of the students. I mean, we could just quickly have a little look at this IP address. So they've only made these 2 edits. Let's just bring up this IP address, shall we? Ah, yeah, I thought so. So if I didn't know better, I'd say, come on. I'd say one of these college's students from Greece has gone and dragged a member of their college's faculty to the conflict of interest notice board. They're trolling their college's own marketing department, and this isn't as rare as you would think. This happens quite a bit. Again, they've got another telling off for basically taking it straight to the conflict of interest notice board when they should have tried to discuss it on the article's talk page. Wikipedia's volunteers, especially the ones who hang out on the conflict of interest notice board, they do not like to be bothered for any reason. As if one telling off wasn't enough, this guy had to, so they've got a double ticking off. Oh, here we go. So it looks like this disruptive marketing manager from the college has thought it wise to explain himself on the conflict of interest notice board. Said, "Good day. The section you mentioned was indeed removed by me. There was no corruption scandal. It is not mentioned anywhere, and the sources cited." Oh, I think that's meant to say cited. The sources cited do not. The sources cited do not mention anywhere neither Diri nor the American College of Greece. The mention that the college's organisation was able to acquire a private higher education licence by the Greek government, in spite of having failed to fulfil legal obligations in terms of presenting a valid curriculum programme, is not true, because no application has been made by ACG. The section was again removed. I mean, let's see. I mean, you might be telling the truth. I mean, maybe these sources don't mention it. It's a little bit difficult. You can use foreign language sources on the English Wikipedia, but sometimes things can get lost in translation. Oh, I think actually the controversies section will still be on the main page, won't it? Because I don't think they've been. Oh, criticism. I'll go to this restored version. Let's just check to see whether this source actually verifies the claim being made. So that's a pretty bold claim. It's hard to really say whether this source is reliable or not, because I have virtually no knowledge of Greece's press. From what I can see, that source doesn't directly relate to the controversy. Looks like this source doesn't even seem to mention the college, so it looks like that controversy section was potentially added maliciously. The sources don't really check out. One of them isn't really accessible for verification purposes. The other doesn't seem to even mention the college in question. There's two things they could have done there. They could have flagged it under a declared conflict of interest, or they, you know, could have, if they already had an account, or, you know, with a few edits on it, they could have removed it just by saying this isn't verifiable, put WP:V in the edit summary. They could have discussed it on the talk page without declaring a conflict of interest. The way they've gone about removing it is quite disruptive. So what's happened next? So it looks like the students themselves have got involved and said the marketing man. So it looks like the students who were previously editing using this IP address have now gone and created their own account, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to have a shared account, by the way. But they've gone and grassed up their marketing manager again. Said the marketing manager of the private college in question appears to keep removing the controversy section on the college's Wikipedia article. This is a big conflict of interest. I think what's happened is a lot of these private law schools, they charge their students pretty extortionate fees, don't really deliver a particularly high standard of education. A lot of them aren't licensed, and naturally the students get pretty annoyed when they have realised they, you know, paid all this money and not gotten a law degree, and found out that the college is basically a big scam. So these students have basically outed themselves by putting Deary Students as their username, as this Wikipedian has rightfully stated. Your username too implies that you have a conflict of interest with ACG. Is this the case? And they've argued back, saying Marinosk is holding a paid position at the private college in question as marketing manager. I don't have something to disclose, but I'm glad you liked my quirky username. God's sakes. They're not really taking this very seriously, are they? And they do have something to disclose because they're students at this institution, so they do have a conflict of interest with it. The fact that they're clients of this institution means that they have skin in the game, so of course they have a conflict of interest. And identifying your conflict of interest in your username is not an adequate conflict of interest disclosure. If you want to go down that route, ask somebody else, because I don't think conflict of interest disclosure is a particularly good idea for reasons that I've explained in other videos and reasons that I might explain again later in this video. Looks like somebody from the IP address who's linked to these students has gone and argued, made the same point. I'd like to say that between 25th September and October the 9th, Marinosk has tried to remove the controversy section at least 3 times, each of which have been reverted. Sorry if this is unimportant information. Again, they've gotten another ticking off, this time from El Kevbo, who seems to manage pretty much every college and university page on Wikipedia. He's saying that he has disclosed a conflict of interest, but I guess what he didn't understand was if you disclose the conflict of interest, then you can't go editing the page directly, unless it's for little updates, but you certainly can't go nuke an entire controversies section, as Marinosk has done. The entire section has been removed, recites sources that do not mention anywhere neither Dewey nor... Well, yeah, he's got a point there. And yeah, it looks like that's where they've left it for now. I do love it when institutions like colleges and universities air their dirty laundry in public. That's always good fun. Here we've got an example of somebody who's works for a company. They said they've avoided any direct edits, and they're proposing a merger between these two pages, and they've asked for this draft of new content. I think what they're about to find is that Wikipedia's volunteers are still very hostile to editors who have declared a conflict of interest, which is why I suggest that it's never in anybody's best interest to declare a conflict of interest on Wikipedia. And Wikipedia editors are anti-business, anti-PR, so they've tried to palm them off to the tea house. There's a bit of a housekeeping note there. It looks like in trying to merge the two articles, all they've really gone and done is draw attention to what was quite a dormant article, and draw attention to its notability issues. Are these notability issues founded? Got some local press. Doesn't seem to really relate much to the company. These look like sources that just mention the company. Got some primary sources there. Routers. It's a routine announcement there. That might be significant coverage, but I think they might have a point that there may not actually be enough significant coverage here to justify this article. You can kind of tell. Oh, it looks like we've got some LLM generated content here as well. They boldified, used boldface where they should have just used title case. What you can see is this is just a list of, you know, such and such was purchased by Hanover, you know, these people, you know, swap jobs, blah 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 blah. It's a pretty boring company history. It's quite listy, and that's because it's based on primary sources, press releases, snapshots from moments in time, and they've compiled them together to make what is a pretty bland Wikipedia entry. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody nominates that for deletion at some point. Again here, looks like we've got somebody who's trying to push through an article on Anna Stretton, a philanthropist from New Zealand. Looks like it's been accepted. What's happened in the meantime? Yeah, so it looks like they didn't realise they had to declare a conflict of interest, and they went out and asked for help at the tea house, and they got slapped down. This one looks interesting. Looks like we've got some LLM generated text here for starters. It looks like they've gotten a chatbot to generate this conflict of interest noticeboard thread. And you can tell because they've used markdown to try to boldify the subject's name. And they should have used wiki text, which is a form of markup language. That should have 2 square brackets either side of it in the code. What it looks like is this editor has There's a conflict of interest with this page. Let's have a look. Wow, this article's got issues. Andy Gross, former professional racquetball player, now a touring comedian and ventriloquist. This, I'm picking up a kind of LLM generated vibe from this. There's no wiki links and got some citation bombing here, so it's a pretty badly formed page. Yeah, as I suspected. So this editor clearly has a connection to the subject. It's been using an LLM to create requests. Looks like, yeah, wow, that was a lengthy talk page. So it looks like this editor, someone like you, has been trying to push through some promotional content under disclosed conflict of interest. They've been slapped down because they're using a chatbot to generate their conflict of interest edit requests. And you see this a lot with subjects who decide to go down the declared COI route, is they'll get pulled up for any infraction, whether that's using a chatbot or not following the process correctly. Looks like this editor has gotten annoyed, both editors have gotten annoyed and dragged them to the conflict of interest notice board to make an example out of them. Again, they've asked them to clarify whether they're using a chatbot, which they've clearly done. It's obvious that they've been using chatbots to format their edit requests. Yeah, that's fun. And again, this person as well, Diego Mazzara, he's gone and tried to edit his own Wikipedia. It's not a page, it's just a draft. It's been declined. That looks like chatbot AI slop. Rule of 3 and all that. Back to my last video. Yeah, rule of 3 there. Oh, an M dash. No wiki links, barely any wiki links. Listiness. Quite fanciful headings, subheadings. Yeah, this article seems promotional also. They've half declared a conflict of interest by putting their initial and then their surname and their username. But if you go down that route, then you're not supposed to edit the draft or the page directly. So yeah, there you have it. You can usually always find something pretty entertaining on the conflict of interest notice board. There's always something happening, and more we're seeing people with a conflict of interest getting caught out using AI chatbots, because let's face it, AI generated content is very easy to spot, especially on a platform like Wikipedia. It's the predictive model of AI is it's trained on persuasive writing. It hallucinates, it makes stuff up, it doesn't follow the sources, and it just writes in this promotional formulaic tone that's very easy to spot. So that's the conflict of interest notice board. If you don't want to be named and shamed on the conflict of interest notice board, I suggest you get in touch with me and I'll show you how to plan out your editing strategy properly so that it adds to the encyclopedia and adds constructive content to the encyclopedia that doesn't infringe on any of the platform's content policies or guidelines. And that's about it. I'll see you in the next one.